The University of Vermont Alumni Association recognizes Rob Cox with the 2014 Alumni Achievement Award. On December 14, 2012, the Sandy Hook tragedy occurred at an elementary school in Newtown, Connecticut. Newtown resident Rob Cox took a leave of absence from his job to help his community.
In the immediate aftermath of the shooting at the school, folks here in the Newtown community got together, and just said, we have to try to do something. It's just we have to do something, and that's what gave rise to the Sandy Hook Promise, and Rob was one of those key individuals, and he remains with us today on the board.
One of the most inspiring things I have to say was I turned on the television and I saw Katie Couric interviewing Mark Barden, who lost his son Daniel. I did not know Mark before that, and I saw him speaking out on what had happened and in a very nonpartisan, open, respectful way about how we need to just examine our culture to understand why something like this happened and what we can do to prevent it. And when I saw Mark on TV, I have to say, I sort of felt, okay, this is it. I called my employer here at Reuters and said, guys, I need to take some time off. And about 4 or 5 other folks did the same thing, and we spent a month after the shooting pulling Sandy Hook Promise together.
It's really not surprising to me, knowing Rob for so long, knowing him at University of Vermont, that he reacted in the way he did and became an important organizer and an important voice in the response to that tragedy.
One of the things that my wife and I always appreciated about Newtown before the tragedy was the sense of community here. And we felt a very strong sense of connection and belonging here almost immediately. And I think Rob exemplifies that dynamic of community spirit. And of course, he's proven that now in his activism since the school shooting.
Rob was able to respond in the way he did for a number of reasons. One, he had great skills. He's a great writer. These were skills he honed at the University of Vermont and that he developed further there in his work at the Cynic, the ability to articulate a point of view and to stand up for something he thought was right.
At the outset, it was just my way of understanding, interpreting, and dealing with the trauma. So that first weekend, as we were starting Sandy Hook Promise, I wrote an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, which really tried to frame the problem as a series of questions. Like, what have we done wrong that this boy in our community went and did something so horrific? I mean, where did we fail? Did we fail in helping this mother get the help she needed in parenting? Or is it a problem with our Constitution? Is it a problem with access to guns? Is it a problem of mental health? All these things we put on the table, and I sort of framed that in that piece. I don't think it was intentional to be the voice of any sort, except it was sort of cathartic for me to write it. It's what I do.
Sandy Hook Promise is known for its nonpartisan approach. Rob acquired some of these skills while at UVM.
And I'd say, the university itself was, had a sort of sense of, I don't know, I almost want to say social justice, but when I got there, we had this divestment issue with South Africa. There was a shantytown, if you remember, in the very center of the green. And that was sort of allowed me to think about things well beyond the sort of usual things that you think about when you're a freshman or a high school student. You think about social justice, you think about other people in other nations and people who are not as fortunate as you.
Rob has an open mind, he's fair-minded. He also doesn't take a simplistic approach to issues. He thinks broadly about it. And from what I read and what I see, Sandy Hook Promise does that as well. This is not a one-dimensional issue. There's a lot of facets here, and they all have to be looked at and explored. And Rob brings that to the table.
It speaks to his upbringing, it speaks to his character and his wiring, and it speaks to probably the education he got at UVM, to recognize that you are in a position that you can be helpful and do something, and then to know that you can do it and to have the confidence, I guess. I mean, because Lord knows this was an unprecedented situation.
I'm very proud to call Rob a friend. I'm not surprised he reacted in the way he did. I'm deeply impressed, as I've always been with Rob, for his energy, his willingness to stand up in what he believes in, and his willingness to be there, I have found, for his friends. And he counts his community among his friends. And so I'm not surprised at all he helped create Sandy Hook Promise to provide a support group and a voice for his friends.
For his outstanding community leadership and tireless work to create the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation, the University of Vermont Alumni Association is proud to present Rob Cox with the 2014 Alumni Achievement Award. For his outstanding community leadership and tireless work to create the Sandy Hook Foundation, the University of Vermont